All right, guys, in today's video, we're gonna take this XL3 or enticer and turn it into a bunch of parts. So gonna see how quickly we can do it, and I'll show you guys just the little bit of tools that we're gonna use to take this thing all the way down to the bare chassis. The XL3, a little different than the normal enticers, a little more plastic and flashy accessory stuff. Same kind of principles though, same engine and platform. So this one here, we're parting out, got to get this thing stripped down to nothing. And I'll take you guys through the process as we go. And we've already done two this morning, older enticers, and we just used that amount of tools right there. So gonna open the hood and start taking the hood off and start pulling the motor first and work on the rest of it. First thing we got to do is take these hood hinge nuts on these studs off, 2 on each side. Looks like the headlight ground is also on one of them. Unplug the 3 bullets here. We'll get the hood off, take the hood cable out, which is on the exhaust Y pipe, the retainer, and then we'll pull the exhaust pipe, clutch guard, probably this here fan shroud, get that out of the way, oil bottle, carburetor. Carburetor is actually sold to somebody, so I got to take that off and clean it. And then we'll work on getting the motor itself out of the way, then it's easier to get the harness, and then we'll start working our way back. We'll pull the spindles out and that sort of thing. Got the pipe out of there, just got to get this clutch guard off, and they don't have the pin in here, they got this here bolt in there. Pop that out. Clutch guard out of the way. Get off to the side. It's in pretty good shape yet. So that's good. This motor is locked up. I'm pretty darn sure it is. So not really worried about that. We'll find all these nuts later. Once that's released, gotta take this off there. Tilt the hood back, pop our retainer or clip off the Y pipe. She's on there good too in this one. But with one guy, you gotta hold the pipe and then pop the clip off. Make sure there's no bees coming at me. See a little pry bar here, it looks like. So get that one on. It's a little bit stuck. I don't want to completely ruin this hood because it's really not too bad. But just a little on the stuck side. So hood's off. We'll set that off to the side for now. That out of the way. I'll work on getting carburetor out of the way, some cables. Looks like this one has the speedometer drive as well, so I'll be taking that off. Ground cable, this one had electric start, so I gotta get all that stuff off. I got my 10mm here. I'll take this fan shroud off too. Can't get that on right now. Zip that. One out. The ground cable, this is for the fan duct there. Get the angle that we need. Yep, looks like it. And one right here. Still got the factory rubbers on the coils. They always put that on there so that the fan wind would seal up around the plastic. That's why they put those on there. So that's a nice shroud there. Put that off to the side. The XL3s, like I said, have a little more getting wind flow going with the hood design. Much different than the regular old Enticers. So. I know this motor did run until it obviously it had a crank failure or something. So that's what took it out. But ran up until that point. Get this harness. There's just some retainers here. I'm just gonna unplug the coil signal and the coil ground. Looks like there's a bare wire out here. So I'm just disconnecting the bullet connectors on the stator from the main harness so we can pull that motor out. I'm going to zip the bracket for the recoil. It's only got one of them left anyways. And then pull the oil tank off. Looks like that's full of oil, so that's going to make a nice mess for us. That's fun. I think it's just 2 bolts holding that on. I'll get a 12 mil. One there. One back there. I'm on a running board for now. Wheel bottle is loose. Pearl pin here. Pop that out of there. Dash there. That's the oil level. And this, I believe it's strictly a vent line. Yep. Kiss that. Slide this out the bottom. Hopefully before it starts getting oil on us. Get the main oil line off, which is right here. I'll keep the bottle kind of tipped back so that we don't lose a ton of oil. See, just spurt a little bit there. So we'll salvage this oil. Get this intake boot and deflector removed. I got the carb out of the way. Nothing really intricate there. I'll try to get in here, finagle this bolt out. Now you got a third one on the bottom. That's what that all entails. This boot's shot, so like every one of these, you know, that's just kind of how they are. Pulling deflector out of the way so we can get the starter cable. Like I said, we got our oil tank out of the way. Get a 10 millimeter here for the starter cable. We'll disconnect our impulse line with the pliers, get that off of there. And then we'll take this bracket and the recoil bracket as well, get that off there. Our condition has not improved since the last time I remember. Still tight. I'll have to remove the tachometer drive cable, which we might have to take out of the dash, perhaps. I'll take the dash apart and get it out of there. So we got the tach drive and your oil drive on these newer Yamahas, similar to the phasers and the SRVs. I'm gonna pull that belt off if this clutch moves. Oh, that's good. Get that squeezed in there. I can get that to come off of there. Looks good to me. And that secondary is still snappy yet, so that's good. It's an OEM belt, but it's really not that good a shape. Pretty worn, so that'll go in the trash. Oh yeah, she still moves a little bit, guys. Might have broke a piston in there. It's my guess. Something's not right. Tuck our cable down in there. So start her out and then worry about this tach drive. I'm hoping it'll unthread out of here. I think it will. Yep, I believe so. Get that removed. So there's our tack drive. That can stay with the chassis for now. We're getting that electric start system out of there. So your solenoid and all that stuff is down here, along with the voltage regulator. There's just a ground wire there, and then the old one wire typical Yamaha regulator. This piece of flat metal wants to come out with it, so we'll disconnect our regulator. That's what that looks like. And then we got fuel line in the harness here. This piece can all come up to the top. Now I'll get my 10mm wrench for the starter cable and put that on there. Gotta get that loosened up. Looks like the starter's in pretty good shape, so I didn't verify that it ever worked, but I might have when I first bought this thing, but it's been a while. I'll have to disconnect speedometer drive here, just threads on, stub shaft in there, pull that out, move it off to the side. Ooh, it's bent pretty well there. Tap that back with a hammer, the bracket's bent. That's what holds your recoil in place on most of these enticers. That can get into the recoil assembly. Down here is just that ground wire. That'll go there. Random pieces of tubing go over there in the trash. We'll get our fuel pump bracket out of the way. I think I can get my impact in here. So I'm not too worried about the hardware. That can all be replaced at a later time. We got our fuel pump here, and I know this fuel system did work. So the pump and everything in the tank is good. So that's something when I go to resell it, I can remember to put that in the ad. Go ahead and get that fuel pump out of there, and then I'll work on getting the motor loosened up. Show you guys how to do that. It's very simple. There's two bolts in the front there underneath the Y pipe. I leave that motor plate until later and take that off, and then there's two nuts on the motor mount studs in the rear on the intake side. Wow, there's a lot of broken pistons in the piston pieces in the exhaust, guys. Look at all that stuff. So yeah, I kind of figured she was kind of done for. I heard it go really good, and then it went whoa, and then it went tight. But it was also sitting for an obscene amount of years, and could have been blown up at that time, or you know, in dangerously close to blown up state because of the electric start. When the electric starter's not in there, you can get a flex head ratchet in there, and it's a crap ton easier. Gotta make sure you get on there good. They're usually not stupid tight, but they're tight enough. And that's all there is to take the motor out of one of these. You get all these loosened up. You can also go through in between the clutches over on the left side, which I might try to do that with my ratchet. This one had a little more rust on the end of the stud, but she's just about on. Got all these. And if we played our cards right, the engine will lift out of there. Get my pliers off here. My back's already sore though from this being the third one, so see that one's removed quite easily. So just some random debris hiding underneath there. Next is going to be getting the steering mechanism taken apart, and then we'll work on the seat, the console, and the dash, we'll call it. And then the last thing will be the track drive. We'll work on getting these spindles out. Got the main tie rod out of there. They got these little tab locking washers for the spindle nuts. You have to just take a flat blade and bend those back. On a 14 with an extension usually will be enough clearance to get those out. So just like that. And so you got a lock washer, and then you got a regular flat washer. Then there's a pinch bolt on each side. Pinch bolt on each side, which is going to be usually a 12 or a 13. You got a flat washer or lock. Take the pinch bolt out, and then those knuckle ends will just pop right off. So here's the hardware. Pretty self-explanatory there. Then the spindles will just fall out the bottom. We'll leave them connected to the skis for the most part, usually. And then we'll work on getting the dash console and the steering shaft and post out of there, which is pretty easy. We just got to get the plastic off. I think I'm going to try to cheat the system here, guys, and take the whole steering shaft and post out as one. Don't know if I can, if it'll clear through this hole or not, but I'm going to try. Get my 12 mil socket here. Do some impacting. These are the lower bolts I'm messing with right now. Those always come out pretty good, it seems like. Upper bolts, they'll have the locking tab washers on them. 1, 2. I'm just happened to fall down, but able to salvage that one. Maybe we'll get lucky and pull it all out. I'm not sure. Oh, it's this thing here. Yeah, that's what it is. unless I can get this off. Yeah, I can get it. And it's just got your bushings. If I can get this out of the way, then we can pull that out. Just got our steering bushings here. This just has to go where your cables. So bushings, steering shaft retainer. Steering shaft is out. Harness is pulled back. I gotta get this cowl off now. The seat bolts, and hopefully first that they will come out. That one don't want to go. Needs to be a little smaller Phillips. These will usually come out. I might even have had this cowl off at one time. Possibly. I don't quite remember. We'll get this doghouse off at least. That one's missing. We got one more over here. Get all that stuff out. Change shroud there's almost freed up. Doghouse, I call it, or bezel. This one's in pretty good shape, actually. That one you keep around. Not really cracked like most of them are. Tank has got a couple bolts in it. And like I said, the seat, worst comes to worst, I'll have to drill the heads off of them if I can't get them out to get the seat off. To get the tank to pull back, bolts are here and here in the front. And you have your line and then your vent lines. So everything looks really nice on this tank. So we'll keep this one around. Well, here's what we're left with. Skeleton, a bunch of parts. Getting the track out was actually pretty easy on these. A little tip to take these nuts off, the fine thread nuts for the right side drive. Put a 7/8 wrench on the square of the drive axle. Hold that from underneath with the skid out. Crack that loose with a 27 mil on that nut. That'll get that off way easier than trying to struggle with it, holding the secondary with the chain case on. Skid, I didn't even loosen the track tension or nothing. I zipped these two on each side, and then the front two bolts, zipped those right out. And then everything else chassis-wise came apart pretty good. I had to drill out the two bolts for the seat there and there. The Phillips heads were just straight rusted and rounded out. And then I got the fuel tank out with 3 fasteners there, pulled that out. Everything else, leaving the grab bar in and the reflectors for now. You can always get them off later. Here's the rest of the stuff over here. Tank is in really nice shape. I dumped out all the old gas, got that out. Exhaust pipe has questionable spots in it where it might be leaking. And then you guys saw the steering shaft was removed by just taking those 2 brackets off and pulling it all the way out, not having to disconnect the gauge cluster and everything else. So chain case is sitting right there. That's pretty easy to get off. You know, it's just these 4. There's studs in the case on the left side there, and then nuts with lock washers. So you just zip all that off. But that's where you're left with, is all these parts. And like I said, we have another one over there, another one over there. So we did 3 this morning, got all these parted out. So now we just gotta put them on the shelf. So that is what it takes. Took me about an hour-ish to do, hour and a half on this one. Had a few things that were kind of troublesome, but about an hour and a half to get it all the way down to the tunnel. So that is it.